Great Writers Media.
Welcome to the Books of the Month show. I'm so excited about this episode, and I know you're going to be excited about this episode as well. I have an amazing author on the set today. I want you to help me welcome Terry Gunnels. Terry, welcome to the set today.
Well, thank you for having me here, Marilyn.
Thank you for coming on the show today. Listen, those of you that are tuning in today, this author is just amazing. I understand you have been an author for only 2 years.
That's it.
Only 2 years. And how many books have you published?
Well, actually, we have 4, and I'm writing on the 5th one right now and have ideas for the others coming.
What's really amazing about this is that only 2 years, and you've written 4 books. And as I look at your books, we have 3 here today. As I look at your books, they are so engaging, so creative, so vivid, and very interesting. How in the world could you come up with 4 books in a 2-year period? And I'm talking about what an imagination. The Landlord, let's start from the top here. We're talking about the Landlord's Inheritance.
Yes.
And then we're talking about the Landlord and the Wheelchair Child. And then the Landlord's Dead Body.
Yes.
So you're talking about a series of books. Tell me about your books. So let's start with the first book here, the Landlord's Inheritance.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Well, the first book, that's where the characters for the series actually get introduced in the first book. Mm-hmm. And the young man there, he's a very immature 20-some-year-old fellow. And he helps his father manage some real estate. You know, that's where the name is. As it turns out, his parents are in an accident, but in an automobile accident. Instead of being an accident, someone tried to kill his parents. And so he doesn't know what to do. I said he's a very immature young man. But his best friend, a disfigured veteran, Black Ops with the military comes in and he says, Mickey Ray, that's the main character, is Mickey Ray. And he says, Mickey Ray, he says, I know what to do. I know how to find these people. We'll find them. We will take them down and get justice for your mother and for your father. And so they pair up together and they track it. They track these people down, take care of it. And of course, the father, who is he is brain damaged in the accident. Mm-hmm. He recovers, and he is getting better, which he recovers in the second book. But they wind everything up, and we don't want to tell the ending, but it's quite suspenseful at the very last. A lot of action.
I think so. I believe so. And as we continue on with the second book, this is a continuation from the first book, right?
It is a standalone story.
Okay.
Each book is standalone, but the underlying story does carry through into the
same characters.
Book. Yes, same characters.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Wonderful. The Landlord. I think this is my favorite. Okay.
I think so.
Yes, the Landlord and the Wheelchair Child. Tell me a little bit about this book.
Well, Mickey, a few months after the first one ends, he's wandering through the apartment complex that his father owns, and he sees a little child in a wheelchair, a little girl. And he goes over and sits down and talks to her and says, why are you here alone? And she says, I'm waiting for my mommy to get back. Well, he sits there for a while, and it's getting late in the day and, beginning to get dark, and it's getting cold. He says, Mom isn't coming back. He calls. They call the police, and they get the child services involved. And his sister Darcy, she gets temporary custody to take care of him. They find out that the little girl's mother and father had been kidnapped, and once again, James Bauer, the veteran that I mentioned in the first one, they pair up, and they go find the mother and father, rescue them, and take down the organization that kidnapped them in the first place.
And you got to read the rest of this book. So Finally, the landlord's dead body. Very interesting here.
Well, this takes place again a bit in the future. And in the future, Mickey has matured. And at that time, his father is going to retire. And so his father turns the entire Christensen Company, Mickey Ray Christensen and the Christensen Company, over to Mickey Ray. They have planned to build a new apartment complex. And the very first day of construction in a construction trailer, when everyone's assembled there, construction going outside, someone knocks on the door and says, Mr. Christensen, we have a problem. The backhoe operator that's digging a footing for the apartment building dug up a dead body. Well, Mickey goes out there and looks at it. As it turns out, there is some identification buried with the body. He knows the girl. It's a little small town. He knew the girl. He went to school with the girl. The girl is dead on his property, and if it reflects back on him and his company, it could bring the company down. So he and James again set out to find out who killed this girl so they could save their own property and bring the killer to justice. And of course, at the very end, we all find out who killed her.
Find out who killed her. And then you have another book coming out too, right?
Yes.
What's the next?
The fourth one is The Landlord's Ex-Fiancée.
Okay.
And that one will be out in about another week or two. As I said, the same characters carry through on this one. In the very first one, Mickey's fiance, Valerie, she begins having some problems and she leaves town. She's just upset over some things that happened in the first book. She leaves town and goes to culinary school. Mickey still keeps up with her, but they actually broke off the engagement. Well, then he gets a call from the police in Florence, Oregon, that she is dead. He's going to fly to Oregon from Virginia. It takes place in a fictional town of Bridgeton in Virginia. And he flies to Oregon. By the time he actually gets there, finds out that they decide it's murder and the girl did not have an accident and fall and kill herself. Here comes James out to be with his best friend, Mickey Ray. When he realizes murder, they bring in an entire Black Ops team to find out what happened, why, and bring them down. And they do at the very end.
Wow. And you're just going to continue the series on
I'm working on book number 5 already and have an idea for book 6. So we'll see.
So this is very good. So you are literally bringing the world mystery, bringing the world adventure, and these are definitely good reads. You're going to be engaged with this book, and hopefully you're going to continue to purchase the entire series on and on and on. You're not going anywhere with this.
I don't plan on leaving the area, and I plan on continuing with those until I run out of ideas. Right now, I have more ideas that I have time to write them down.
Wow.
I'll keep working on it.
Speaking of ideas, I would like to know, and I'm sure our audience would like to know, the man behind the book. How did you become so creative with all the ideas? Because when I look in the pages of this book, the story is so vivid and the story is so alive. How did you come up with all of this and realize that you had such a beautiful gift to bring this to the world?
For most of my life, I've worked by myself. And in working by myself, you can either shut down your brain or let your brain keep on working. And by voracious reading and by myself listening to audiobooks, I listened to the way it ended. I didn't like the way that ended. I would have ended it this way. And then, a couple of years ago, I said, I'm going to write a book and it's going to end the way I want it to end. So I started through and always read that write about what you know.
Yeah.
And many years ago, I began buying property, renovating it, and renting it out. And I said, well, I will write some stories about, some of the tenants and that. Well, it didn't work out that way. I began writing and I said, no, it can't go this way. It's got to go that way. These are all fictional books. I've never had anything like this to really happen. But when you read or listen to a certain genre of books, action and adventure, then I can imagine, I can see. So as I would write or type, of course, everything's done on the computer, then I would write down what's happening in my mind. Just like if I was watching a movie, and then I write the script for that movie as I'm watching it. That's pretty much what I did with the books. And hey, if someone steps in the room or all of a sudden they fall over the trash can inside the door, I write that down. Well, who left the trash can there? And then it just works on from that. So,
Even some of the small details in your books are so vivid and so real. So you really have an amazing gift to write and keep giving it to the world.
well,
For
some
sure.
people have told me that they said that, Terry, your books, they feel like they're real people. They're not just fiction. They
Yes,
could be somebody
yes.
that I know or could know.
Mhm.
And a couple of people just last week I was talking, they said, we saw some of you in these books. And one thing you're talking about says, a character asked for a cup of coffee and he wanted some of the pink stuff to sweeten it with. Well, everybody knows if you go into a restaurant somewhere and
Wow.
say, I need some sweetener. What do you want? The pink stuff. Everybody knows what the pink stuff is, an artificial sweetener. And they said, little details like that makes it more relatable, and some of the emotions. And I'll tell you very quickly something in the first one of my favorite scenes was James Bauer. As I told you, he is actually disfigured, but he loves children. But he can't be around children because they're afraid of him about the way he looks. So he goes over to meet Darcy, who is Mickey Ray's sister, and she is divorced with 2 children. He gets there, but what he does so he can be around children, he goes to the local mall dressed up as a clown and paints his face so the children aren't afraid of him, because children love clowns. So when he gets there and Darcy, the sister, realizes this, she says, I'm gonna open them up to these kids. So she sits him down and takes some of her own makeup remover, sits him down and starts taking the makeup off of James, and he's terrified that the kids are gonna run off.
Wow.
But as she describes it, these people, he has makeup. As you take this makeup off, then the real person's exposed, and sometimes you see that they're wonderful people underneath that. By the time she takes all of it off, the little kids look up and they say, we don't care what he looks like. We love him anyway.
Wow.
And, you could feel that he was terrified, but the children loved him disfigured. And that's the way that we should look at people, no matter what they look like, disfigured or beautiful, ugly. They're people and they deserve to be loved.
Yes.
And James, many people have told me James is my favorite character.
Wow.
And he is the ugliest because he's the disfigured person, but he's got a heart this big.
And it's so amazing, as you are so creative in your writing. Even in the book of the landlord's dead body, the landlord's inheritance, and the landlord's wheelchair, there is something positive. It's entertaining, but I believe there is something positive. When you get through reading the book, there is something positive that you can get out of the book and enjoy the book too.
Well,
So
that was
this
my
is so
intent.
amazing. Yes.
It's
Yes.
entertainment, but I wanted it to have a positive meaning. There's justice in the end. And,
Yes.
so,
Yes. And these are actually real life situations in the book. These things really happen. You imagine these things, and whatever you are imagining, there is somebody on this planet Earth that's thinking that or
I'm sure they
experienced
have.
that.
Yep.
And so it's good to have it in the book for others to read. And I want to thank you so much again
Thank you for having
coming
me.
on the
It's been-
show. You are such a delight. Listen, all of you, make sure you get a copy of this book. The information is on the screen, and make this a part of your library and enjoy the many, many series. And I want to call them episodes, because hopefully one day they'll become episodes, a
I
series
certainly
or a
hope
movie
so.
all by yourself, because it's so exciting. Can take us away from our daily life
That
and
was my
things that's
intent.
going on, and just take us into a whole new place. you have done an excellent job at that.
Thank you very much. I
Yes,
appreciate the comment.
absolutely. Absolutely. If there's one thing that you want to say to the readers, what would you say to the readers?
Well, I'd say if you actually read the books and understand they're meant for entertainment, there's some things in there that is okay. That's kind of rough, but it's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is enjoy reading them. The one thing people ask me, how do you write a book? I say, just sit down and start writing. If you read over it, if it sounds bad, throw it out and start all over again. And I did that to a lot of those. I read something, the second time around didn't sound so good. There are others that said, that's pretty good. I'm surprised I did that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just basically remember any book that you read other than a biography or something, it's entertainment, and just look at it that way. The other thing is, if you want to write, just write. You can decide later and you can always change it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you certainly have done a good job and continue to do the good work that you're
Thank you.
doing,
Thank you.
bringing good entertainment to readers all around the world. Thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
Enjoyed it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Visit www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com. Call us at 877-600-5469. Subscribe now.